Yeah, okay, alhamdulillah. Very good. All right. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Salatu salam ala khatam anbiya Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali ashabi ajma'in. Alhamdulillah. Ahlan sahlan. Alhamdulillah. I'm so glad. Welcome to all of you. Welcome to everyone. Okay, so today the title is Hijra, from where we are to where we need to be. And the reason that we're talking about Hijra today is because we're in the month of Muharram. And the month of Muharram is the month that Umar radiallahu an began to count as the first of our Islamic year, our Hijriya year, and began to count that because he said the Hijra began here. So just so you know, it's not when the Prophet ﷺ actually went to Medina. So the Hijra was a process. We began with the other companions, the Prophet ﷺ giving them permission, and that permission came in Muharram. And then the Prophet ﷺ, according to most narrations, actually reaches Medina Rabi' al-Awwal, the 12th of Rabi' al-Awwal. So when we're talking about the Prophet ﷺ and events in his life, is he was born, he did Hijra, and he died on the same day. Wallahu alam about the Hijra, but that's what the reports say. So subhanallah. But the Hijra itself begins in Muharram. I think it's better to think of it as a process instead of thinking of it as a one-day event. Hijra was in its reality was the people of Medina, the Muslims of Mecca, the Muslims of Mecca, after the Prophet ﷺ seeking with great effort a place for them to go to be safe. So they weren't safe in Mecca. That's why he sent them to Abyssinia twice. That's why every year when the other tribes would come to Mecca, he would go to the tribes and he would say to them, he would bring Islam to them and ask them to take them on. And he was met with some really nasty responses and some other not so bad responses, but they weren't willing. And until the people of Medina, so the people of Medina are, as the people of the Ansar, are special because they provided this safe space to Muslims. So I just want to do a little commercial break here on this story and remember and think about the amazing work of Osama Khanan, who in building the Ta'leef program was providing a safe space for Muslims. MashaAllah. Allah reward him and send him angels of help and strength and health. MashaAllah. But in the Hijra, the Prophet ﷺ was looking for a place for the people to actually not just have a safe space like Dar al-Arqam, which is the metaphor that Osama Khanan usually speaks about, but actually for them to move from Mecca to another place. And I want you to think about how bad it must have been then. I mean, for them to be leaving, we're talking about a really difficult situation. For what are you willing to leave behind? Your home, your furniture, your whatever, your closet full of stuff, your camel, your house. I mean, think about that. Think about now, right now in your life now. What are you willing to leave behind? And what would make you willing to leave it behind is actually the question. So how bad would things have to be in order for you to say, you know what, I'm leaving this house that I bought and paid for and belongs to me. So don't think about a rental. Don't think about your mortgage. Just this house that you bought and paid for. I'm leaving it. I'm going somewhere else altogether where I'm going to start my life in poverty. These are the Muhajirin. Muhajirin were people who lived in Mecca in homes. They had homes. They had plates. They had bedding. They had bowls that they put their stuff in. And many of them had to leave and bring nothing with them. Many, many of them. There are many stories of those who left Mecca. Salama, you know her story. It's probably, well, anyway, Salama, her husband, they went out. So Salama and Abu Salama and Salama, they all went out to do Hijra. And the families come out to stop them. That's how bad it was. And they took the child. First of all, the different families, you can't go and you can't go. And then they took the child and they pulled one tribe is pulling on one arm of the child, and the other tribe is pulling on the other arm of the child, and they're pulling this child until the child's arm got dislocated, shoulder got dislocated. Imagine Salama, how she felt about that. And then Abu Salama left to go. He went on Hijra. His Hijra was an obligation, and Salama stayed behind as they kept the child behind. But she was without her child, and she would go to the edge of Mecca every day and cry until a year later her family or a cousin took pity on her and gave her they gave her son and she went. But my point here is that this Hijra was a big deal. They were leaving a scary situation, going to a scary situation. So the scary situation they're going to is uncertainty, no money, but what they are going to was their religion, their deen, Islam. They were leaving behind a difficulty in practicing their faith, going to ease and support and help in practicing their faith. So when we think about the Hijra today in 2017, from where we are to where we need to be, we need to think about two things. We need to think about our individual Hijra and our community Hijra. So our individual Hijra is anything in our life that is holding us back from our faith needs to be examined. Now, not everything is holding you back from your faith. Sometimes that very trial that you're in, sometimes that very difficulty that you're in is because you are patient with it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving you reward and blessing and help because of your patience. So be careful of just saying, oh, I have this trial, I have this difficulty. If I just leave this difficulty, then I will be fine. No, like if your difficulty, let's say you're there, your in-laws are obnoxious and you have to live with them and they're so difficult, and your mother-in-law complains about everything you do, and your father-in-law watches you when you go up the stairs, and you come down the stairs, and you go in the other room. Where are you going? What are you doing? And you're going crazy, and you're saying, well, it's not my duty to sit here with these people. I mean, they're making me nuts. Well, that's not my duty, and it isn't, but you decide, even though it's not my duty, I'm going to make the best of it. If you're making the best of it, and you're struggling, but you're making the best of it, and you're finding the silver lining, you're seeing them as free babysitting, for example, or you're seeing them as, okay, I don't have to cook. It's okay. When I first got married, I was very American, and of course, I still am. And my in-laws came to visit, and I had met them before, but this is the first time they visit me, taking a visit, they've been married for a while now, they're visiting. And I was all proud of myself because I made them something to eat. And they came at night, like they arrived at like 9 o'clock at night. So I made soup. So Americans make soup. We eat soup. That's what we do. We have soup. And in Minnesota, we have Minnesota soup. So I made corn chowder. It was delicious. And because I made that soup for like 10 years, my father-in-law, who by the way he's a wonderful, wonderful man. But for like 10 years, he thought my husband was miskeen, poor guy, because his wife only knows how to make soup. And the hilarious thing is, so my husband, he doesn't eat, right? Like his whole body weight is the weight of one of my arms. And he doesn't eat. This is not my fault that he doesn't eat. He just doesn't eat, period. Khalas. He eats like once a week. And it's because I make soup. Oh, the truth is, I actually really love soup, so I really do make soup a lot. Let's alhamdulillah. That's hilarious. That's probably the truth of my situation as well. Bring him to Malaysia. Well, he might eat better in Malaysia. That's the truth. My point is that, my father-in-law, I could have decided to see in him just his seeing of me that I make soup. But that's just a funny story to me. I think it's hilarious. And I've always, inshallah, seen in him all of his wonderful qualities. So what I'm saying, though, is actually not a story about my father-in-law. It's a story about if you are this person with these in-laws, just when I'm saying we're doing hijrah from a difficult situation, as the people of Mecca did to Medina, it doesn't mean that we necessarily want to leave behind every difficult situation we have. Some of our difficult situations are the very blessing by which we are staying awake at tahajjud, the very blessings by which we are learning Quran, the very blessings by which our lives are blessed. And it's not because we are living this kind of philosophy of life that says, oh, we have to have something bad to have something good. La wallah. No. We had the Joy Jats book club this morning, and one of the sentences in that chapter is everyone's life is the same. And we have to learn how to believe this. In essence, everyone's life is the same. So some people have the thing that's hard for you, they have easy. Some people have other struggles. Everyone's life is very different, but in essence, they're all the same. They have happiness, they have sadness. We all have happiness and sadness. But when it comes to our relationship to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Hijra comes and reminds us that we are looking for the things in our life that hold us back from a relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And as community activists, as people who care about our community, we're looking for things in our community that hold the community back from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from practicing our faith. So in our personal lives, what are some of the things that hold us back? The first thing is if you have friends that tell you lies about the world. So if you have a friend who tells you, okay, let's make this really extreme so you can understand what I mean. So if you have a friend who tells you, no, listen, are you having weight trouble? You should smoke. If you smoked, if only you smoked, you'd get healthy because you would lose weight and you wouldn't have cholesterol problems anymore. I mean, all of us can laugh at this. I hope. I hope we can all laugh at this because everyone knows that smoking causes cancer. And even if it makes you lose 10 pounds, it's going to make you gain in lung filth. So if you have a friend who tells you lies, not like that, but let's say you have a friend that tells you that spews bitterness about Islam or Muslims, that spews bitterness about her own life or prayer. Like maybe you want to help that friend, but be careful. Don't hang out with her too much. I used to have a friend. I have always worked in my life to be a very positive person. And I used to have a friend that complained about everything. That's all she did was complain. And I found myself one day complaining all the time. I mean, everything. Oh, my sink isn't working right. Oh, my refrigerator is too big. Oh, and I stopped dead in my tracks. Oh my God, where is this complaining coming from? And I knew it was coming from this friend. I didn't leave that friend, but I lessened how often I saw her. I couldn't leave her. We were friends, and I didn't want to. And we were, and I felt if leaving her wasn't going to help her, but I also needed to make sure that I didn't become the complainer that I don't want to be. So when we're thinking about Hijra, we want to make sure we're not surrounded by Meccans. So if you're working in a job where everyone makes you feel bad about your faith, start looking for another job. Don't leave the job. Don't leave the job. Look, there's a dunya rule. It's not Islamic rule. There's a dunya rule. You don't quit a job until you have another job. Okay? That's the rule. You don't quit. Let's memorize this. You don't quit a job until you have another job. Once you have another job, you can quit the other job. No problem. But certainly you can look for another job if your boss is making you crazy. I took a job recently, a very short job. It's a couple hours a week. And I took it because I thought it would be good. It was a dawah thing. And now that I've been doing it for a few months, like 2 months or so, I find that it's not measuring up to where it should. And part of that is some of the people that work in the office. So I'm really considering leaving. For me, I'm not going to look for another job because aslan, I didn't take it as a job. I took it as a dawah thing. But everything we look at, we need to ask ourselves, is this Mecca or is this Medina? Are you in Mecca or are you in Medina? Where we want to be is Medina. Medina is the place where we can establish our prayer and pray without fear. Medina is the place that we can know the Prophet ﷺ and sit with him in the mosque without anybody bothering us. Medina is the place where Muslims can walk around freely saying salam alaikum to one another and loving one another without fear that other people are going to come and abuse us or harm us, because that was Mecca. Don't say to yourself Medina was law. It was. That's not the point. Medina was relationships. Mecca was hiding. Mecca was harm and fear and pain. And I know today in the global society, there's a lot of social fear and pain that we worry about. So we have to create our own Medina. You create your own community. If it's an online community, then love that online community. If it's your mosque community, love that mosque community. If it's a sisters group that you've made wherever you live, love that community. But if it's your family, make that family Medina. But you need to have a place where you can pray without fearing that people are going to make fun of you or mock you. A place where you can read Quran, where people are going to encourage you to read Quran. And let's think about the Quran a little bit. In Mecca and Medina, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Prophet was receiving wahi, revelation. In Mecca, in secret, he would share with the companions. In Medina, they could announce it. The Prophet has received this new verse. The verse of hijab. I'm so irritated by the way Muslims look at the lack of at women as though we have no agency. Even historically, Muslims say it, not Muslims at the time of Prophet. So, this is another commercial break, sorry. But so when we look at the verses of alcohol, wallah, you all know them. We all know the verses about alcohol. In our schools, our Sunday school and our Saturday school, we teach about what? The verses of alcohol. What do we say? You could all tell me what we say about the verses of alcohol. What do we say? We say, the verses of alcohol were revealed. And the Muslims, what did they do? They dumped it in the streets. And the streets of Medina flowed like with a river of wine. The story is told with different details in different places. We all nod. We say, MashaAllah, MashaAllah. Ya Allah, how they knew how to listen to the Quran and obey. We don't question it. But today, and since the 70s, we've had mostly men who have decided that it doesn't matter that when women of the Prophet women of the Prophet, who are they? Excuse me, they're companions. Okay, so women and men who lived at the time of the Prophet are his companions. So these companions, just like the men were companions who threw the alcohol on the street, these female companions, when they heard the verses of hijab, what did they do? They tore their embroidered fabric. So they had fabric that they embroidered. According to the narration, it was embroidered. And as women, so I just want to say, I'm not good at embroidering, but I know how to do it. And I've done it. And it takes so much time. And when you do it, it's so beautiful. I used to, sometimes every once in a while, I crochet or I embroider. But when I do, I make sure that there's La ilaha illallah in every stitch. La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah. And it's something that you really end up caring about when you put that much time into a scarf or a blanket or a little teeny tiny plaque. You care about it. Imagine if you embroidered all along the fabric. Are you going to take it and tear it? No, Allah. You're not going to do it. Unless Quran comes down that you want to obey. And you, as a woman of agency, the companions of the Prophet they didn't need men to come and tell them, Ya ayyuhan nisa, go and listen to the Prophet by themselves. They heard the Quran in the streets of Medina and they tore their fabric and they tied it around their neck because that was the whole idea that this area, Junubihinna, and they went back and they went out, khalas, and that was it. Nowadays, we have men who want to say, Allah, what did the Prophet say? Like, why isn't it enough that women, this is the only religion that has foundational women, that women heard and obeyed and understood? Why isn't that enough? Anyway, sorry, I digress. My point is not that. My point is that at the time of Medina, they were listening to the Quran in the streets. And this is what we need today. We need a place where we're listening to the Quran somewhere where we feel attached to the Quran. We can read the Quran. We can love the Quran. We can recite the Quran. We can talk about the Quran, where the Quran becomes the blood in our veins, the marrow in our bones, where we akhlaqna, our khuluqna, our character becomes the Quran. And here, this is Medina. We learn who the Prophet ﷺ is in Medina. We learn who the companions are in Medina. And today, we learn who we aren't. If the Quran is not something said with the tongue, Orientalists can do that. When my husband was at the University of Pennsylvania in 1990, a little earlier and a little later, and I was at Temple. We were out there together. I was at Temple University studying. He was at the University of Pennsylvania. But I was in School of Education, and he was in Near Eastern Studies. And one of the professors was he was an Orientalist. He wasn't a Muslim. He was Hafiz al-Quran kaliyata. He memorized the entire Quran. Does this mean that he was better than somebody else who had memorized? La wallah. No, it's not what it means. It's not. Memorizing Quran is an important skill, but doesn't make you a better Muslim. What makes you a better Muslim is I want to say living the Quran, but I feel like that's a cliche. Is making the Quran the words you speak, and the steps you make, and the way you interact with people, and how you care for your community, and how you embrace this world. This is how memorizing the Quran makes a difference. And in Medina, we need to go, because right now we're not there. Right now, la wallah, we're not there. Right now we are so much in Mecca, it's not even funny. And we're not in Mecca, sorry, because of the people who live outside. We're in Mecca because of us. And when we understand that, we will make a change. We're in Mecca because we haven't made Hijra. We need to make Hijra. We need to make the Hijra from wimpy, cooked macaroni noodle lifestyle to Medina, sisterhood, and belief, and hard work, and charity work, and and your job every day when you get up in the morning, go to work, do it for Allah. Oh, I applaud you, those of you who go to work every day, and I applaud you, those of you who go to work with your children every day, and I applaud you, anyone who wakes up in the morning in this world, because let's make a baseline here. This world is horrible. This world is, we've got war, and we've got tragedy, and we've got betrayal, and we've got lack of adab, lack of not adab, lack of honor, and selfishness. We live in a time of narcissism. We live in a time of narcissism where we have defined what it means to be a good person as being obnoxious to others, and narcissistic, and look at me. It's tough living in this world. So let's admit this. I'm not a Pollyanna. I'm not pretending. It's not that I don't see. Well, let me tell you something. I lived in Syria, and I love Syria. And it breaks my heart every day, the war and the refugee situation. And all of it breaks my heart. And I live in Minnesota, where we have a very large Somali community. And when I meet these women who have lived in Italy and in Nigeria until they finally got to America, people who weren't able to be with their mother until they were 16 years old. Stories. They break your heart. But this is the way it is. This is the way it is. And so we are responsible in this hijrah to do two things, three maybe. One of them is to do our best in our little corner, not to get overwhelmed and think we have to do something about that corner over there. What are you good at? What are your talents? Do your best that you can in that place. And that's your hijrah there. So if you're a doctor, you're doing the best at your job. If you're a teacher, you're doing the best at your job. If you're raising 5 children, doing the best at that job. If you're raising your neighborhood, you're doing the best at that job. If you're, whatever it is that you're doing. And taking care of our faith. Taking care of your faith in the middle of this muck. Taking care of your religion, your Islam, your ability to read Quran, your ability to be attached to Quran, your ability to help others with the Quran, as they were in Medina. And the other part of Medina was access to the Prophet. The Prophet didn't have to hide. Not that in Mecca, I'm not saying he hid like that, but in Mecca, he couldn't have open halaqas at the mosque. He couldn't have people coming and listening to him. Ya Allah, Ya Allah. Imagine Medina. Imagine. You go out to get some bread, or you go out to pray Fajr, and along the way, you pass by the Prophet. You pass by Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. You pass by Aisha radiallahu anha. You pass by Abu Hudayfa. This is the Medina. I need everyone here today to be the Abu Bakr, Umar, Khadija, Aisha, Salim, Salama, Waraqa, the people of Medina. When we become the people of Medina, maybe we'll be able to bring Medina back. Maybe. So that's the community. So how do we now go inside of ourselves and go from where we are to where we be on the inside, where we need to be, excuse me, on the inside? And then the first thing to do is look at the companions. Be the person who will meet the Prophet ﷺ at night. So there's a very funny story. Some of you may have heard it from me before. But there's a sheikh, okay? And his murid, so murid is a person who's seeking, who wants the path. So this murid went to his sheikh and he said, "Yeah, sheikh, oh my teacher, I really want to see the Prophet in my dreams. Yani my cousin saw him and my madri so I want to see him." And the sheikh said, "Okay, listen. I want you to eat kibbeh." So kibbeh is a Syrian food that looks like a football. And the way they make it is they pound meat and they pound burghal and they pound salt together and they stuff it with meat that they fried in oil and salt and nuts, and there's more salt in it, and so salty you can't imagine. It doesn't taste salty, but it's so salty. So if you eat one, you have to drink 3 glasses of water for each one if you just want to be normal, okay? So he told him, go and get kibbeh, and I want you to eat kibbeh, kibbeh, kibbeh until you can't eat anymore. Keep on, and don't drink any water, the sheikh said. Don't drink a single glass of water. He said, oh, really? Huh? Imagine what an easy assignment. Oh, yeah, I'm so excited. Halas, then he went home, and probably the story goes, he asked his wife to make kibbeh, but I'm going to change the story. He went home, and he made kibbeh himself. And he sat down, or he went and bought it at the corner of kibbeh shop. And he sat down, and he had no water, and he put it on his plate. 12, a dozen, baker's dozen, 13, and he started eating them. 1, 2, 3, 4. He was getting very full, and he was getting very thirsty. No, the sheikh said, don't drink water. He was so obedient. And he ate, and he ate, and he ate until he couldn't eat another kibbeh. He didn't drink anything. And he got up, and he had already prayed Isha, and he went to sleep. And all night he was dreaming of waterfalls and glasses of water and pitchers of water pouring, cold water pouring into glasses that he was drinking, putting his face in rivers and walking in rivers, water. What is this? He went to his sheikh and he said, "Yeah, sheikhi, I did it. Wallah, I did exactly what you said. I I ate the kibbeh and I didn't drink water, and I woke up in the morning and all I was doing was dreaming all night about water." When you are thirsty as you were last night for water, when you are that thirsty to see the Prophet ﷺ, you'll see him. So this is what we need to be. We need to be thirsty for the Prophet ﷺ. We need to be of those who need him and want him and miss him. We have to realize that when we walk on our streets, we don't see him. The only place you can see him is at night. When we walk on the streets, we don't see the Prophet ﷺ, and actually, depending on where you live, it's difficult to see people who love the Prophet ﷺ. So I have a friend here in Washington. I love to come here because I get to see this person who loves the Prophet ﷺ and loves the people who loves the Prophet ﷺ. Yani wallah, it's a great blessing to be around people like that. And if imagine the world, if we walked along and we got to see people who love the Prophet ﷺ. So you have to be that person. Wherever do you live, in Montreal or South Africa or Texas or Nebraska or Iowa or Oklahoma or California or Florida, wherever you live, you have to be the person that when other eyes fall upon you, they're seeing someone who loves the Prophet. This is the Hijra from where we are to where we need to be. We need to be the people who, when other eyes, tired eyes, hurting eyes, exhausted eyes, when they fall upon us, they see someone who loves the Prophet ﷺ, who loves those who love the Prophet ﷺ, and just they're looking at you should give them ease in their heart. So in this year, if you want to be of the person who loves the Prophet ﷺ, what are you going to do? There are 3 things to do to be of a person who really loves the Prophet ﷺ. One is you have to start reading. You read about him. And there are so many books now about his life that you can choose. Tariq Ramadan's book is nice. Hello, we're coming out with a book. We translated the most beautiful book of his life. So many details that are not really available in English. It's coming out in April. Inshallah, inshallah. In April, around April, you'll be able to read that book. Put it in your mind that you'll be reading that book in April. And but there are others. Read the others, and read about his life by people who loved him. Be careful. Don't read about by people who didn't love him. And the other thing to do to love him is to say Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad. When you give salat or salam to the Prophet ﷺ, he responds. And so what you've done is you open a conversation with him. You say Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad. Salatu salam alayka ya habibi ya Rasul. He responds to you. And imagine that. So you're opening conversation. So what one of his companions asked him, Ya Rasulullah, how often should I pray for you? A quarter of the time, more than that. Half of the time, more than that. 3/4 of the time, more than that. 2/3 of the time, I'm messing up the math. More than that. All of it, and still you can do more than that. Because when you pray for someone, the angel stands next to you and tells you, and you too. So imagine if you're praying for the Prophet ﷺ, I wonder what the angel says to you. I wonder what the angel says to you. So praying for the Prophet ﷺ, making salatu salam ala Sayyidina Muhammad as much as you can in the day. And the third thing is to follow in his sunnah. And be careful. We have a rhetoric in our community that makes us believe that following in his sunnah is a ritualistic activity. Sunnah is his way of life. The sunnah is the way he did things. So we follow in his sunnah. In extra prayers, yes. In brushing our teeth, absolutely. In praying tahajjud, for sure. But in how we treat each other, in our patience, in our kindness, in our being very slow to temper, in our justice, in standing up for what is right and just, in kindness, in expectation of good of others, in putting our nafs aside, in making a lot of dua for the things that are important, standing for those who love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In these three things, we can come closer to the Prophet ﷺ, and we can make hijrah. Some people here today will be people who are coming out of painful situations, or you're in painful situations, or you have memories of painful situations that are sometimes triggered. In the world of psychology, there's a lot of stuff about what is needed and all of this to move beyond. And I don't pretend to be a psychologist or a counselor, so I'm speaking outside of my specialty area. But in my world, the having a companion to help you over your pain is something that is well known to be important. We always are looking for a support system, sort of like not the rocket science piece of therapeutic health. There's other parts that are much more rocket science. And here in this space of needing a companion, I offer you Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He is available to walk with you, and I mean this in the way that he missed you. He missed you before you were alive. You know the story when the companions found him crying, and they loved him. They didn't want him to cry. It hurt them to see him crying. Tears in his eyes, tears falling down his face. They said, Ya Rasulullah, why are you crying? He said, I long for, I yearn for, I miss my siblings. They said, Ya Rasulullah, huh? Here we are. Yallah. He said, La, aren't we your siblings? Is what they actually said. He said, La, no. You are my companions. My siblings come later. They believed in me and they love me. They believe in me and they love me even though they've never seen me. They will have never seen me. And that's you. Like, that's every single person who's on the live stream today or who will watch it later. It's every single one of us that he was remembering and thinking about and missing and longing for. So this one who loved you, love him back. Love him back. It's part of faith. Love him back. Love him back and send him salam. Walk in his footsteps. Read about him. Open your heart to knowing him and let him be your your companion, your human reference. And as you think about the place that you are or the place that you were, and you look for a place that's more joyous, remember that this dunya wasn't sent to us to bring us joy. This dunya was sent to us to test us. It's a stage, it's a life stage. Our first life stage is in the stomach of our mothers, right? The womb of our mothers, the uterus of our mothers. And in this womb, if I came to you, if I put you all back in that place when you were in the wombs of your mothers, and I came to you, and I visited you inside, I was like, excuse me, poke, poke, poke. Alaikum, hello, I just want to talk to you for a minute. I want to tell you that pretty soon you're going to leave this warm place full of water and umbilical cord. You're eating from the umbilical cord, and you're going to go through a very, very, very small tunnel, and your nose is going to be squished against your face, and your head is going to turn into a cone, and you're going to go out into this world of air and light and noise and people, and you're going to be with your mother, and you're going to be thrown on her stomach, and then something's going to be shoved in your mouth, and you're going to be told to suck, to eat, and all. You can tell me, are you crazy? Never heard of such a thing. Get out of here. What are you talking about? But this, and then from birth, the period between birth and life is the period between pregnancy and life is birth. And here now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent us messengers, and after messengers, He sends us du'at, people who are shuyukh and sheikhs and du'at and aunties and uncles and friends and neighbors to tell us, Ya jama'ah, there's an afterlife, there's Jannah, there's Jahannam, there's reward. You see all this fruit, there's something like it, but it's not the same. You see these happy relationships, there's something much, much, much better than that. You see these desires that you feel, you're gonna have all of them fulfilled in the next life. And there are people that say, "What are you talking about? I can't imagine it, so it can't be." But the stage between this pregnancy, the earth is pregnant with us. And the stage between this and the next life is the death. Death and birth are the same thing. They're movements from one stage of life to another. And in this space, don't let your pain overcome you so that you can't make hijra from your own personal Mecca to Medina. Let your pain be as it is, and work to find your Medina. Work to find your Medina so that you can find a place where your heart is joyful. Your heart is joyful, and your space with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is joyful while you're here on this earth waiting for that next life where the true connection will happen. How can I overcome 2 obstacles that stop me praying tahajjud? First, feeling depressed, so waking up early, and my husband's working night shift where I'm disturbed. So what I understand from that sentence is the difficulty of waking up early because of depression, and also the second difficulty because of being woke in the night. You know, alhamdulillah, it's not summer. So in the summer, the night is very short. It makes it much more difficult to wake up for tahajjud. Now it's winter time, and really tahajjud is a lifeline to faith and to our Medina. But if you can't do it for whatever reason, then pray attain, 2 rak'ahs of qiyam before you sleep. And that way, in the night, you've prayed prayers and you've done something. And sometimes one little thing you do will bring you to the next thing or the next thing. Well, I know someone, I tell this story all the time. I know someone who was so far from Allah. Ya Latif, somebody's husband that I know. Ya Latif, he was so far from Allah. He was messing around with women at work and not praying, and you name it. I don't know about what else he was doing, maybe drinking as well. I'm not sure about that. I don't know the whole story. Anyway, but every day he gave sadaqah. Every single day he gave sadaqah to somebody. Even if it was, this is when I was living in Syria, even if it was 25 Syrian pounds, which is nothing. That's like giving a quarter, but less than a quarter even, to somebody on the street. And, but every day, for 10 years. After 10 years, he didn't turn around in one day, but after 10 years, his whole life, slowly began to come back. He started to pray, and he started to see his family again. He lived with his family, but he didn't recognize that they were there. You know, he like came in and, I'm sure you've seen men like this come in and go out. 10 years later, he started to see his family and start to pray and start to care. And you can say, it's so late. His wife could be bitter now and say, it's too late. Khalas, or you messed us up and you did all this stuff. And sometimes she is. But yani, on one hand, the first lesson of this is whatever you do, even if it's little, will come back to help you. So if you're the one who's struggling, give sadaqah every day. Do something you can do. Fast. Pray 2 rak'ahs at night before you sleep. And inshallah, you'll come back. If you're the one who someone is hurting you, then you can do the thing that you need to grow. And remember that while this person who's with you is imperfect, you're imperfect too. And we have to ask ourselves, if we went to the Prophet ﷺ with who we are, how do we feel? I don't know about you, but I'm really embarrassed of my laziness and my lack of finishing things and my inability to do enough and my distract whatever. How am I going to go in front of the Prophet ﷺ with this not enough? So if you feel like you don't have enough, then don't look at other people as if they don't have enough for you. And who are you? SubhanAllah, who are you? Why do you think they should do stuff for you anyway? Hey, this is a Western habit. Like, oh, you should do things for me. Why? Why? Who am I? Who are you? Who are we? People of God, the Prophet ﷺ, oh, these are people that we do things for. Saying, why should somebody do something for you? And when you don't feel entitled and you don't have expectations and somebody does something nice for you, you're like, oh, alhamdulillah, that's really nice. But if you have expectations and they don't do it, you get all cranky and uptight. Why should people do things for us? And because the Prophet said, Yallah, who are we and who am I in the end? What I'm saying here is hold that mirror really close and see all those blackheads on your nose. Right? Look carefully. And see the blackheads on your heart and your soul. And see them. And when you become sort of more realistic in your mind, you'll stop having so many expectations of what other people should do for you. And you'll start being able to be a better person because you're not so busy with everyone else's mistakes. And you get busy with your own. And that's really, if we want to make hijrah, we have to be busy with our own mistakes and stop being busy with other people's mistakes. Protect the people around us that we love and care for. Help our community grow. Help our community be protected. Care for one another. Really look for ways to leave our Mecca and go to Medina, internally and externally. Inshallah. Sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad. Alhamdulillah. So inshallah, Allah yaftah alayna. I hope that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will help us as a community really move from where we are to a better place. But I also hope that we can see that progress, that we can be encouraged by steps that we make and steps others make. I'm really happy to be with you all today. Again, we'll be together in a month. And I have been asked to make an announcement. It's kind of me. I called my father with this announcement, and he mocked me. So feel free to mock me as well, because it's a mockable announcement. But it's very nice too, though. It's very nice. So in Minnesota, there's an organization called Pollen Midwest. And another organization which you know of, this is where my father started mocking me, that's called the AARP, the American Association of Retired People. That's the association for people over a certain age in America. So these two organizations have a yearly award, and it's called the 50 over 50 award. And what they do is they find 50 influential leaders in Minnesota and they give them an award. And alhamdulillah, on October 17th here in Minnesota, I'm going to be receiving this 50 over 50 award. So I called my father and I told him this. He said, I don't have a daughter who's over 50. He wants to have a daughter who's under 20. I think that's what he would prefer. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. So keep your eyes peeled before he was just teasing me. For those of you who think that he was being mean, la haram. He was only teasing me, and he's very happy. He's coming to the ceremony and all of that. So alhamdulillah. our anyway, so that will be October 17th, and we will be at Rabata. We're going to be celebrating with a something. So keep your eyes peeled for that, and you'll see the flyers coming out. So pay attention. And what else do they want me to tell you? That November 12th at 8 a.m. CST, there will be next month's open halaqa. And anything else I need to tell? Guys, tell me what are the other announcements? I see you typing. Okay. And and we're in the middle of the Rabat semester. I don't know if, I think registration is about to close. So if you haven't registered for your classes yet, pretty much after we've done 3 classes, we shut down. So now is the time to hurry up and register for classes if you haven't. And the Lit Conference, thank you, Afshan. The literary conference is in 2 weeks in Houston, Texas. I'll be there along with a whole bunch of amazing authors, Muslim women authors. It's going to be really an amazing time. And the day after that, we're doing a Project Lena for Islam in Spanish with our Hazel, who is our Rabata Spanish person. And also, December 2nd is our last in the series of SOS Family Workshop, all-day workshop events online. And so you can join us on December 2nd as well. I'll tell you more about that next month. Alhamdulillah, thank you. Of course, admin too. I'm still in DC, but I leave today. Yeah. All right. So if you want to attend the conference, it looks like Afshan has given you the link there. That's the link. Is that correct? To attend the conference. And I think that's it. So thank you everyone for joining us this morning. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I was here for the ICNA Women's American Muslim Women Conference. That's why I was here. And yalla, next time, inshallah. Next time. It was sort of in and out and a lot of different kinds of things. Yes, I want to come to Singapore again. We're working on all of these things. Make dua for me that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes my dissertation easy, so I can get all this other stuff done. All right, Allah iftah alaykum. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us go from where we are to where we need to be, and help us to see where we are and see where we need to be, and help us to walk firm, solid, confident steps on that road, and to be the people who, when the Prophet looks at us on the Day of Judgment, he's proud of us and proud to have us as part of his ummah, and not to be of those who walk away. Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barik ala Sayyidina Muhammad. Thank you very much. See you next month. And if not before, in the Joy Jots Book Club or wherever else I'm seeing Ribat classes, or in our 500 over 50 thing that's coming up. Okay? Yallah. Assalamu alaikum, everyone.